I'm Tasha Mack. You need to check with me before you do anything, and Tasha Mack will let you know what's appropriate.
Mama! Derwin, it's okay for us to have sex up here.
It's cool. You need to get out of my house before I put some buckshots in your ass. Girl, if you were a light bulb, you'd be too hot. Bitches, you know you could have been dead for real. I do not get involved in domestic squabbles. That's how people get shot. Agreed. That's right. You can't solve your man problems. You take your man out.
I would have talked to Tasha, but it's dark and it's late, and I'm sure she has guns.
Locked and loaded. I don't know what barn y'all were raised in, but in my house, we don't wear shoes. Get your hands off of that. Pull up your damn pants. Sleeping hoochie. Wake up. Don't be sleep sweating all over my chenille. Well, I see somebody still has their shoes on. Well, I know who Short is. I'm from the Bay. You still got to take your shoes off. Now, I'm going to ask you one last time, Short. You heifers better get the hell out of my damn kitchen. I know you got more sense than to have these little sack chasers up in here cooking on my all-clad. An apron does not turn a hoochie into a house guest. Oh, so y'all just gonna burn up the damn catfish, huh? Oh! Bitch got her finger in his eye.
Excuse me.
No, you will be excused from this party if you don't follow these rules. Stay out of all pictures.
All that's behind us now.
Yeah, girl, I'm so glad I didn't slap you. That would have been hard to come back from. I don't eat cute and I don't eat for show. I eat for sustenance. You know, they never report when a black woman dies. Is that a juice ring on my counter? Is that a cheetah in my hallway? Melanie, let your company know it's almost 8 o'clock. With Rick's Spot. Ow! Damn it, Paul! My baby's been Look, it doesn't matter if you a wife, a girlfriend, or whatever. You need to understand that there is a hierarchy. And as the mother and manager of the star quarterback, my ass sit at the top of this heap. Hi, I'm Mrs. Tasha Fox, and you are?
The one and only Tasha Mack, queen of the game herself. And in this game, we play by her rules. Let's get into it. Now, with all characters on the game, Tasha is no exception to the fact that she is well written. She has extremely high highs and a lot of great assets to her character, but there are some very low lows and a lot of flaws. Tasha Sojourner Mack, mother of the star quarterback of the 3-time Super Bowl champions, the San Diego Sabers, Malik Wright, runs a tight ship. And in her words, her ass sits at the top of that heap. And she isn't wrong. Tasha, who dropped the "la" from her name when she left Richmond, California, is one of the most dynamic, energetic, fun, but very real characters ever brought to life on screen. And she's portrayed masterfully by the immense talent in one of my favorite actresses, that is Wendy Raquel Robinson. Or as Moses Prim from Prim's Hood Cinema would say, she's an all-star. Tasha may have birthed, raised, and molded her superstar son into the sports icon he is today, but she doesn't allow his career to define her as a person. Tasha was unfairly saddled with the rags to riches thanks to my athletic child golden ticket storyline, but that couldn't have been further from the truth. It's revealed that Tasha was not only very intelligent, but she had a very bright future all on her own before she became pregnant with her son Malik. She chose her son over her own path, and while that worked out for her, it's important to note, with Tasha's talent, intellect, and drive, any path she chose would have worked out for her. Malik is the embodiment of what happens when Tasha focuses on anything. She doesn't allow odds to become obstacles, or bets placed against her to derail her already defined divine path. She channels her internal power and bends reality to her will. She is the perfect example of manifestation. While she is funny, has lightning-fast wit, and mentally outpaces everyone who dares to challenge her by allowing their personal bias to be their undoing, and she succeeds as a manager by running circles around these people through persuasive, cogent arguments, she's still underestimated and uses that to her advantage. She's the perfect embodiment of Kendrick Lamar's "I Love When You Count Me Out." There are times where Tasha really tests her audience and how much we love her, which I'm her biggest fan, and there were moments where I was like, girl, what are we doing?
I am a manager at ISM, so why don't you treat me like one and give me a damn assignment?
Okay, Tasha, you want an assignment?
Yes.
Director of debauchery. Oh, Wrangler.
Come on, Todd, she said no extras, all right? She only shouldn't have put herself through law school.
What? She don't need books?
Now, this one right here, she just got a fresh boob job. She got this little trick she can do from the ceiling, and She can hold her breath, though.
Nah, I'm cool on her. I want the lawyer, man. I'm going up to my room. I expect her up there in 5, for what I'm telling.
There's certain things I won't do. I told you, I have a kid to think about.
Asia. You know how when you're twirling around that pole every night with your eyes closed and you imagining you baking cookies for your kid? You're going to be on a different stage, getting paid way more money.
So I hear you're having some trashy affair with Rick Fox?
Tasha, I'm sorry. I didn't have a choice. I wish your mother had. She bust into my place, spouting off about your marriage. But all I'm really hearing is Kelly.
Tasha.
When you want to know what her escape plan was, you just give me a ring.
I swear to God, if you were a dude, I would beat your ass.
Beat my ass then!
Get off! Tell him now, Tasha!
There's nothing to tell, Jason!
Yell
Shut
at her
up!
again, huh? Yell at her.
She's sleeping with Rick, Pookie.
What?
Little girl, why don't you go home and cook your man some chicken and maybe have you a baby? But oh wait, I forgot. You can't do neither one. Don't come for me.
When she was so eager to get into the boys club at Irv Smith Management that she was actually assisting and pimping out some of the girls to the athletes. Bad moment for the show. Terrible moment for Tasha. And it was great to see that she course corrected in the moment and said, what the hell am I doing? And she tried to fix the mistake. Now, again, that was a low, but it was actually based in some reality. There are people that will absolutely sell their soul to get ahead in their career, and we see it every day. But Tasha isn't one of those monsters. Tasha is an example of a good person who had a really bad moment, and she was so desperate to get ahead in her career and define herself in that league outside of Malik's shadow that she had a misstep. But she immediately tried to course correct. In that moment, I always say, when you're a mother to one, you're a mother to all. And instead of seeing that model, I believe her name was Asia, instead of seeing Asia as just another one of the girls that was supposed to make the athletes happy, who were going to be signing these $1 million contracts, that was going to make Tasha a lot of money and push her forward in her career, she saw a young girl being asked to do something that she was absolutely vehemently against. And Tasha stepped in to correct her mistake. When we first meet Tasha Mack, she's operating solely as Malik Wright's manager, but she's also his mother. They also live together. They also share an assistant in Titi, who is also a childhood friend of Malik's and possibly a distant relative. They have so many facets to their relationship that overlap. It's very clear that they are enmeshed, and it's very easy to see how they got that way. But in season 6, during a 24-hour therapy session that Tasha initiates to discover why her romantic life is so fractured, we get more insight into this enmeshment and their codependency. It's such a great episode, and it's probably top 3 one of my favorite episodes of the entire series. The therapist is the same therapist that helped Jason and Kelly. But in this therapy session, as Tasha is opening up, Malik bursts in unannounced. Now, in the background, you hear the people who work in this facility telling Malik he can't go in. And Malik's response is,
This patient is my mama. Thank you. Thank you.
there's a way to go about it that would have respected the rules of the facility, but then it wouldn't be Malik Wright, who gets everything he wants. And we will come back to that. This episode is so perfectly done. We see Tasha now. We see young Tasha, the young mother. And then we see young Tasha, the pregnant teenager. I absolutely love this episode. But then we also see Malik now, Malik the child, and then Malik in utero. And we see Tasha going through all these phases of life. And when she gets triggered, a different version of her shows up. And the way the show portrays this, it's very well done. As we're learning more about Tasha through this therapy session, and we're learning more about their relationship, there are times where they're finishing each other's sentences, and they don't do that just to portray their enmeshment in this episode. The way Malik and Tasha are behaving in this session is how they behave in other episodes as well. The way they eat together, the way they hand each other things without saying a word, the way they both know what the other one needs and wants, the way they speak in tandem and they have a natural flow of conversation, the way they fill each other's sentences. They are enmeshed, but instead of immediately demonizing their bond, it's important to learn more about why they are that way. In this therapy session that began as Tasha's therapy session, she gets overwhelmed and walks out. Now, what she is used to is Malik jumping up and coming to her defense, coming to protect her, or fixing her problems in the same way that she does for him. But in the session, he sits and he actually talks to the therapist, and they drill down into why they're so enmeshed. It turns out Malik doesn't really feel like he can say no to his mom, because all of the advice, guidance, and leadership she's given him up until this point has made him the man he is, for better or for worse. And to be fair, that's an astute assessment, but everything has its limitations. So through this therapy session with Malik, we get an insight into Tasha. So when Tasha returns to the session, we see Malik start to put up a little bit more of a wall and a little bit of a healthy distance by saying, it's not my job to be responsible for you. So Tasha re-engages with the therapist, and it's then that we learn why she is so protective of Malik, but also why she doesn't move without Malik. And it's because when he first came to be, there is a little bit of guilt that still resides in her, that she doubted if she wanted to have him. Now, when she makes this confession, which I'm not surprised, she was 16. I would have been shocked if she wasn't doubting it. But as she's making this confession, Malik is not fazed by it. He just seems to understand her more. It seems like it lands the way it was supposed to, like, oh, that's why she's like that, as opposed to feeling offended. But she also mentions something else, and this is an even bigger reason why she's so attached to Malik. No one else wanted her to have him either. So not only was she set in her decision, but she had to defend that decision all by herself based on the unknown. She had yet to meet Malik. She just knew that she wanted him. She didn't need a reason to want him. She didn't need an incentive to want him. She just knew this child is my child and I am its mother, no matter what the world says. So now we understand the origin of this us against the world type of mindset. It would be really hard to not have that mindset when everybody in your life is telling you, if you have this baby, I'm disowning you. If you have this baby, I'm going to go off and leave you. If you have this baby, you're an embarrassment to my family. If you have this baby, you let all of us down. You were supposed to be the cycle breaker. Everybody came down on Tasha's decision to have this baby, and she still stood firm. So when she's standing up to Coach T, when she's standing up to the front office, when she's about to throw down with other players and their wives, she could give a damn, because she stood up to her mom, her dad, her church congregation, her friends, her family, even her baby daddy and his family. She didn't let any of them sway her. So who the hell are these people about to sway? Not Tasha. And her defensiveness, her protectiveness, and her firmness make 100% sense when you realize that this woman beat the odds, and she did it all by herself. This episode is so good because for the whole show up until this point, there's some murmurs about Tasha's relationship with her parents, her relationship with her family, her relationship with Pookie, and how essentially Malik's arrival changed the dynamic of her life and relationships forever in some major ways. But she never looked back. She always said, I'm willing to bet on my relationship with my son over everybody else. And they made her prove it. This episode is also where it's revealed that Tasha actually had a very bright future ahead of her before she got pregnant with Malik. Now, the media ran with a narrative to promote Malik as the son of a poor single mother whose only way out of the hood was by giving birth to him. But in all actuality, Tasha was at the top of her class in school. She was also the captain of her debate team, the captain of her cheer squad. She had a lot of opportunities, a lot of hobbies, and a lot of interests. She got pregnant and wasn't intending to, obviously. She got ditched by her baby daddy and blocked out by his family and her family. So she actually had so many opportunities laid out in front of her. And having Malik impeded on those opportunities, which kind of explains why the parents took it so hard that she decided to move forward with becoming a mother at such a young age. But she knew it was the right choice for her. We see Tasha face off with her mother. We see Tasha later face off with her father, with Pookie, with everyone else in her life. And as long as her son is okay, she is okay. And the same can be said for him. While they both have individual struggles and struggles together, they both prioritize their relationship with one another over everyone else, which is part of their enmeshment. What the therapist is attempting to help them do is to create more balance and a healthy relationship dynamic where they aren't codependent, but they can have a positive bond. And it seems like in this episode, which this would not happen in one day, but it seems like in this episode, they do start a new path forward and have some major breakthroughs. Now, in my mind, when I thought of Tasha being a teen mom, my mind told me that she was around the age of 18 or 19 years old, which it still would have been hard to raise a child at that age, especially by herself with very little support. But Tasha was actually 16, not 18. That changes her options significantly. 16 is damn near impossible to raise yourself, let alone a child, and she still managed. But Tasha was going against the odds in a major way. First of all, if she had been 18, she would have been able to at least get some kind of vocational training or get a job that would have supported her and Malik to a certain extent. But being 16, there are very few companies who are paying well enough to support yourself and a child that are willing to hire someone under the age of 18. We also find out that her dad practically disowned her.
Parents are always better with a tequila chaser. Oh, man, but everybody know that fat meat ain't greasy.
It is if you fry it twice.
Mama, it's been 27 years. When you gonna get over the fact that I had a baby at 15? Oh, and don't forget it was out of wedlock. You know what? I came down here to try and be the bigger person and apologize to your ignorant ass, but this is pointless.
Well, get on then, firecracker.
So don't you ever forget to show your respects when you come up in my house, which I paid for and remodeled. With my grandbaby's money, who I gave birth to. At 15!
Bang, bang, bang.
Well, I will! Pow, pow, pow!
Good. Boom, boom, boom.
Okay, well, then clang. I got pregnant before all your girlfriends' daughters got pregnant, okay? Break the chain of teenage pregnancy in our family, and I'm sorry that what I became, it ain't enough for you. But I respect you, Mama. I just wish you did the same for me. See there, I knew your narrow ass wasn't sorry. Malik, you got the nerve to come up in here with this delectable basket of treats and try and bribe your way back into my life?
Ah, stupid.
Yes, you is.
Changed the relationship dynamic between her and her mother to the point that it was contentious, and Tasha found it impossible to stay living with her for a long period of time. So that means Tasha was isolated from the support system that she had prior to getting pregnant, and even the baby daddy didn't stick around. Now, as Chauncey comes back around, he starts to offer his explanation as to where he's been. In the words of Kendrick Lamar, it's not enough. Again, I can understand his perspective, and I can also understand that what he's saying is true to him, and it might even be factually true. But as far as it preventing him from taking care of Malik, it's not true. It impeded on him taking care of Malik, but there were always ways that he could have worked around his relationship with Tasha. He could have put himself on child support. He could have let the court know he needed supervised visitation because she was keeping Malik from him. He had options, and plenty of them. Chauncey was from a well-to-do family as well. So not only did his disappearance hold Malik back from having support from his father, but it barred him from having support from an entire family, a whole lineage of people who probably would have been happy to contribute to Malik's upbringing in some way, even if it was just visitation or offering Tasha money to help take care of him, or just simply having more people around him who love him. Malik deserved to have his entire family in his life, and Chauncey impeded on that, and his parents were all too happy to allow him to do it. Punk-ass Chauncey and punk-ass Chauncey's parents, if you ask me. When he came back around, we see that Malik makes him work for a relationship with him.
How do I make things better?
Oh, ah.
That's a start. But I also have insecurities. I can't keep a relationship. What about Windsor knots and razor bumps and peeing standing up?
Malik, I'm sorry I left you with all these unanswered questions. I did think about you, but I think to myself, wow, that's my son. And I was so proud. Part of me felt like I didn't deserve to be proud because I didn't raise you. Your mom did. You don't know how happy I was the day Latasha called me and said those beautiful words. Punk-ass Chauncey, your son want to see you. Huh.
I just have to pause this really quickly to talk about this scene. We are absolutely going to get back to our Tasha Mac all the time. But right now, I just have to pause and just give these two men a huge hand clap because they killed this scene. This is a masterclass in acting, especially Hosea Chanchez, because he has given us so many different facets and so many different layers to Malik Wright that at times we can be pissed off at Malik. There are other times where we want to defend Malik. There are other times where we don't understand Malik's choices. And then there are times like right now where we don't care that he just beat his daddy's ass outside on his porch. We are sitting here trying to hold back tears because we really feel this man's pain. Now, do I know if Hosea Chanchez has had this experience? No, and I don't need to know, because what I do know is he knows how to portray it with precision. This man took us on a wild ride and an emotional roller coaster like no other. This show pulls these moments out randomly and always right on time, and every single actor on this show delivers tenfold. This is such a beautiful moment because we see Chauncey say, "Sorry, I'm a crier." But without even thinking about it, if you look right to Chauncey's right, so is his son. It's funny because you see the things that Malik took from his dad showing up in his interaction with his dad. This show is so perfect. Anyway, I'm sorry. I know I've taken up so much time talking about this scene. This is one of my favorite scenes of any show ever. I have so many more thoughts, but we have to get back to Tasha Mack. We'll re-explore this moment again in Malik's video from a different angle. We're going to get more into Tasha's relationship with Malik in his video, but something I want to talk about is how Tasha shows up in her relationships with other people. So when she's around the other ladies, Tasha acts as a force to be reckoned with. She's always there to help them in their situations and when they need to get out of their situations. She's always there with advice, and she's happy to pull from her own experiences, especially the painful ones, to help other women avoid making the same mistakes. We see this a lot with her relationship with Melanie, Kelly, and Chardonnay. Aside from Tasha's relationship with her parents, with Malik, and with the girls, I have to talk about Tasha's relationships, and that has to start with Coach T.
Sexy, beautiful, smart Tasha.
How many other Tashas you know?
Well, there's the I don't take no mess Tasha, the all hell no Tasha. And oh yeah, everybody's favorite. Now what now, Tasha? It doesn't matter whose fault it is. I don't think we're right for each other.
Why? Because I'm not white?
Here we go.
What? That's right. And I wish you would go there with me, Kenny, and stop pretending that the world isn't racist.
Tasha, this isn't a black and white issue. This is about me and you.
I absolutely despised Coach T. I didn't like his stance. I didn't like his cynicism. I didn't like his judgment. And I hated his friends. And I cannot say that enough. I could not stand those friends. First of all, when Coach T met Tasha, she was who she was already. She didn't put on airs. She didn't put up a front. He was fully aware of who Tasha was. Shoot first, ask questions later. And while I'm not saying that's the best disposition to sit in all the time, he knew that about her. So for that to eventually be the reason he dumped her is crazy, because why in the hell would you date someone who's the antithesis of the type of person you want? That makes no sense. You disturbed this woman's peace for nothing. In my opinion, he used her for a fun time and for sex, and then he left when it became too much. When it was time to support her in the thick of it, he dipped, just like Chauncey. Here's why I don't agree with Coach T, and I know that's an unpopular and a probably wild assessment to make, but here's why I don't like that character and why I don't agree with his stance to break up with Tasha. You took Tasha into an environment that was hostile and microaggressive. Those people, not all of them, but most of those people were not as welcoming to Tasha as she was when she met them. She was kind and generous, and she was fully engaged. She even challenged herself to do things in this group that she wouldn't normally do to make a good impression for Coach T. But when his friend was rude to Tasha, when this man was hostile to her and microaggressive and rude, and when Tasha simply defended herself despite several deflections to keep the conversation on track, when Tasha defended herself because this man is being wildly nasty to her, he blamed Tasha. What's even crazier is every time Tasha did anything, he seemed to have a complaint. And I think it's because he saw in Tasha what he rejected in himself. Tasha is unapologetically herself. Seeing Coach T and his friends told me a little something. I'm not saying your friends have to all be the exact same race or from the same hometown or from the same place that you are. Why are you not around people who can understand your individual plight? Are you sticking your head in the sand? When I see any black person without any black friends, I do get a little concerned. Not that I feel like there's anything wrong with having a diverse friend group. I have friends of all kinds of races from all over the world, all genders, what have you. I don't have any issue with diversity, but I do have a concern where I see exclusion of your own community in your friend group. One thing you can, and again, blackness is not one thing. Blackness is not one way, and it doesn't look or sound any one way. We're not monolithic, but it is important to recognize that Tasha and Tasha's blackness was authentic to her. And while it didn't have to show up the same in Coach T, it did look like it was an aspect of himself that he suppressed in order to fit in with this environment. And when Tasha came into this environment, maybe a part of him expected her to suppress her blackness as well. And maybe because Tasha showed up authentically as herself as always, and she didn't tone down any aspects of her personality, and she didn't cater her personality or her delivery in the way that she showed up into this friend group, maybe it was then that he realized, I don't plan on ever doing that. That's the only thing I could think of, because to go and date a woman who's authentically herself, only to then break up with that woman because she's authentically herself, feels like you just wasted her time and disturbed her peace for no damn reason. You knew who she was when you got here. Take your ass on somewhere. I'm going to give Tasha grace right out the gate. While she did escalate this, in my opinion, unnecessarily, she reached heights that I likely would not have reached in a situation like this. I'm also not her. So I'm going to give her grace because she was in an environment where she only knew one person, yet she was getting hit with bombs left and right of passive aggressiveness, microaggressions, extremely odd behavior, alarming comments. And while everyone seemed friendly on the surface, it did feel very weird. And she clearly felt out of place. And Coach T didn't do anything to help her feel more comfortable. And every time someone said something that alarmed Tasha, because again, this is very different for her, he never asked them to chill out or calm down or anything. He always checked her reaction rather than their provocation. I don't like that at all. If you clearly see everyone in this group is trying to, whether friendly or not, trying to haze this one person, and this person ain't one for hazing, maybe you should let them know that, hey, she is just one of those people that's very cut and dry. She's not a big person that likes hazing. I really want her to get to know the best sides of y'all. The same speech he stood outside that coffee shop and gave to Tasha about the great sides of her that he wanted his friends to meet. He couldn't have that conversation with his friends before she showed up and say, hey, I want her to get to know the best of y'all. Hit her with the big stuff as y'all get to know each other. But I really want her to get to know the best sides of y'all. I don't want to run this one off, and just kind of keep it in a friendly but light tone. Why not give the speech on both sides so that everyone comes together in their best selves? Tasha showed up trying her best. She was amicable. She was very polite. She was very passive in ways that we don't often see Tasha be passive. She was understanding to a level that I wouldn't have been. But when this person tried to be microaggressive to her and she called it out, then she's the problem. This is my issue. Passive aggressiveness is still aggression. Passive or not, it's aggression, it's disrespect, it's hostile. Whether it's covert or overt, it's hostility. And I'm not a person who responds to passive aggressiveness with passive aggressiveness. I respond to all types of aggression with overt hostility. I respond in kind, but I am very direct as well. Now, I measure my volume and my tone based on what I'm doing and what we're talking about. I don't escalate right out the gate, but I absolutely clock it and I let you know I did. If you're going to be passive aggressive to me, you're going to get aggression right on back, and it's not going to be served on a platter like you want. I'm going to put it out there. If you want to be aggressive, you're going to have to own it. And I don't appreciate that because he was passive aggressive and giving her all these microaggressions, that she was asked to be this understanding person when in actuality, Mike was being an asshole and he was intentionally trying to create tension for her. And the reason I know it was intentional is because everyone in the room told him to stop and he kept going. That was clue number one. Clue number two was when Tasha got upset, he didn't apologize. He didn't explain himself. He didn't back off. He didn't say, hey, I was just joking. We'll get to know each other. That's how I joke. I apologize. He didn't try to clear the air. He stood firm in his disrespect because he knew his girlfriend, Coach K or Coach T, was going to show up and handle that. That was light work for Mike because he knew his girl was going to get it. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but what I am saying is there was a clue as to the nature of their relationship behind the scenes when Mike stood there and watched Coach T calm Tasha down, and the look on his face very much said other woman. If I ever saw anyone, man, woman, what have you, looking at me like that when I'm interacting with them and my partner is checking me, oh, that's my partner's boo. I'm the other woman. Let me get out so y'all can do y'all's thing, because there is no way in hell a grown person should be looking at another grown person like that as they're dealing with their spouse unless you want in. Did you call dibs, Mike? Because that's what it looks like to me. Not only that, later, when Coach T breaks up with Tasha, he makes a telling comment about his friend.
So Mike gave you grief about a word. So what? He does that to everybody. Sometimes he's an ass. But when I was going through my divorce, he was right there for me with his dictionary. I got a million Mike stories. We could have shared them later in bed, but no, you got that shoot first mentality. You talk to him? You remember you talked to him? I got to go back now and deal with that.
Kenny, if somebody says something to me that I don't like, I got to let them know.
Exactly. That's what you do. You do that all the time.
When he's upset with Tasha, he says, I have a million Mike stories, and I would have been happy to share them with you later in bed, but you had to shoot your mouth off. I don't know about you, and this could be very much a me thing, but if I'm in bed with my man and we doing what grown folks do in the bed, I don't want to hear about your friends. I don't want to hear about your buddies to get you going. If talking about your friends in bed gets you going, then I don't need to be in the bed with you. You need to be in the bed with the people who get you going. And that was telling to me, because I don't know that I've ever had to tell my partner, hey, I want to tell you about my best friend, Susie Q, and my other friend, Pippi Longstocking, in bed later. Let's talk about them in bed. I don't have any interest in telling my husband or my boyfriend or my boo or whomever about my friends in bed, especially if my friends have been very territorial when you come around. The only people who compete over the space for someone else is someone who's already claimed that territory. And I'll leave it at that. Coach T was fighting a lot of repression, and it has zero to do with Tasha. Now, all jokes aside, I've made quite a few leaps, bounds, and assumptions myself about Coach T and Mike. We don't know the nature of their relationship behind closed doors. I will say those nonverbal cues were telling. The way Mike stood, the way he postured against Tasha, the way he nonverbally signaled to Coach T to wrangle Tasha, all of it was a bit much for me. And as someone who watches human behavior, studies human behavior, and I see a lot of relationship dynamics, I feel like maybe the show was going to go in a different direction and they chose not to, because those nonverbal cues were a lot. And Tasha had every reason to be alarmed. Now, I do think she leaned into this as racial, and it might as well have been. It was very microaggressive, so there was some kind of racial aspect to it, but I think there was something deeper going on, and I think it was more territorial than anything else, and maybe she wasn't sure what was going on. Not only that, but this is the clearest example of your boundaries are not my boundaries. And this could apply to your friend group, this could apply to your coworkers, this could apply to your friends and family. I've seen a lot of this when you integrate as a new person into an established family unit or an established group of friends. Sometimes they try to rib you or haze you to induct you. I don't play those games. I would just rather stand alone and make genuine friendships based on getting to know one another rather than try to integrate into a group of assholes who make light of making other people feel small. It's just never worth it to me to be in someone's life to deal with rudeness. I just don't do it. I'm from the South. I believe in being kind, polite, generous, and nice to people. And I believe in receiving that kind of reception. And if I go into any environment where I'm not welcomed wholly, then I'm not going back. That's just me. Now, there are people who will fight tooth and nail to be in an environment. And when I was younger, I absolutely would go through minimal, just joking, surface level hazing, taking a little ribbing, giving as good as you get, blah, blah, blah. But at the ripe old age of 38, either love me or leave me the hell alone. If I'm not welcomed in this environment, hell, don't invite me. And if I realize I'm not truly welcome, I'm getting out. I don't have to convince you of a damn thing. I'll go. There's always somebody who's happy to have my presence, and it don't have to be in this room. Don't waste Tasha's time. Go be with who you really want to be with. I'll be damned if my boyfriend comes to me and says, "Do you know how you spoke to my male friend?" I gotta go back and deal with that. As if his friend finna be sitting up, waiting up late at night with his hair wrapped, tapping his house shoe and smoking a cigarette when he carried his ass through the door, telling him he better explain himself. Sir, there's a lot going on here, and I don't think it has much to do with Tasha. I think it has a lot more to do with the repression that you're trying to avoid confronting. And I don't think that's just a racial suppression. I think there's a tad bit more to it. And seeing how this friend group likes to swap, I'm wondering if there's a lot more Tasha didn't know and a lot more Tasha was freed from that she might not even be aware of. Because when you're talking about your friend like that's one of your ladies, and you talking to your lady like she's some random dude off the street, you got the game messed up. Pun intended.
Stand up. Can't nobody see how big you are when you sitting down. I need you standing like a monument. You my Mount Rushmore.
Maybe I shouldn't have come.
You think?
I think you better go.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Tasha Fox, and you are?
Now, I have to jump over to Tasha's relationship with Rick Fox. It is a huge defining relationship in her life as a character. And they not only have a part 1, but they have a part 2 and a 3. Their first relationship happened when they were both working for Irv Smith Management, but they broke up because Tasha got fired. She unfairly assumed that Rick had something to do with it because he immediately got all of her job perks. She went out of that office in a blaze of glory. She sang Take a Bow by Rihanna. That's one of the most iconic parts of the show.
You firing me?
He's taking your space.
How about a round of applause? But you put on quite a show, 'cause you really had me going.
That's my jam.
Now it's time to go. Your curtain's finally closing.
Please!
Don't do this.
What else is on? Don't tell me you're sorry, 'cause you're not.
But she assumed Rick had something to do with it, and she thought everybody double-crossed her. only until Kelly was able to record a conversation between Irv Smith and the company's lawyer, where it was revealed that he was always planning to fire Tasha when he realized that she couldn't get Malik to come over to Irv Smith management. So she apologized to Rick, but because he was moving to Miami, he just didn't think it was important enough to keep trying to make their relationship work. It was also always an uphill battle for Rick, unfortunately. Tasha was deeply insecure. She'd been dating losers or people who didn't really see her value, and when she finally got with someone who did see her value, she didn't believe him. She felt like she was lucky to have Rick, and while she was blessed to have a partner who loved her, she was also a prize. And it took Rick saying that to her several times, like, I'm with Tasha Mack. He had to say it plainly to her, but it never really sunk in.
Messing with Tasha.
All right, look here, Tasha Mack. All this nonsense you throwing at me ends right now. It's because I really care about you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, Daddy.
That was the deterrent in their relationship. She was too insecure to allow herself to truly be loved for who she was because she didn't see the value in loving her either. It was great to see her come out of that later on. Then round 2 with Rick Fox, she was cheating on Pookie. So she had the thrill of having Rick Fox back because we saw that that was something she deeply regretted, losing Rick. But she got Rick Fox back, but he was her side dude. She was with Pookie and she was guilt-ridden the whole time. Tasha is naturally a very loyal person. So double-crossing Pookie was already something that bothered her. But having Rick back was something she was excited about, but still felt guilty about. It wasn't until Jason and Chardonnay outed her to Pookie that she was cheating on him and they had no choice in the matter. She finally just sat still with Rick for a while, and once she had time to truly sit with Rick for a minute after really coming into her own, she realized she wasn't really into him. And he absolutely lost it on her. We saw a side to Rick that we had yet to see. He was mean, he was cruel, he was hostile, and he was fully aware. Up until that point, we had seen Rick kind of acting aloof and maybe not fully present. But when he finally got upset with Tasha when she broke up with him, he went smooth off. Now, I'm not making excuses. Something that might be a contributor to his personality shift is the fact that he was for the first time in a vulnerable place in his life. This is a pretty boy who was always a superstar athlete, very successful, and a hot commodity in every space he was in. But for the first time, when he was trying to be a stand-up comedian, he was vulnerable and failing at something. He felt exposed, he felt alone, he felt embarrassed, and for the first time, possibly insecure. For Tasha to break up with him after he had bombed for the first time at something new he was trying, I didn't agree with her timing, and I certainly didn't agree with her delivery. But I also didn't agree with his response. We saw Rick turn into a monster, and he revealed all of the negative things he'd been thinking about Tasha the entire time they had been together. He had never mentioned these things in a safe space when they could really talk them out and he could encourage or support her from a safe place. He waited until she pissed him off and he completely unloaded on her, demolished her verbally, and put her down in ways that we've never seen him do. I was so happy she left him after that, and I did not ever want her to look back. Not saying that some of the things he said weren't true. It was just his delivery and his hostility was a lot, especially coming from someone of his stature. I was so happy she left him, but it is the impetus for her going to therapy and making such a big breakthrough. So it wasn't all bad, but whew, that was an intense scene. After they broke up the first time, Tasha actually took up with someone named Dante Young, and BET is so lazy with this character. It was played by Terrence J. He's one of the hosts of 106 in Park, and he's been in a couple of movies. And he was 25 years old dating Tasha, who was in her 40s. And they kept making it like a young old thing, and they kept making jokes that he liked cougars, etc. But for this character to be defined by his age and being so much younger than Tasha, and then for them to name him Dante Young, I was like, y'all couldn't come up with nothing else. Anyway, I didn't like this character. I also disliked how this character consistently nagged Tasha about her spending. If she spends the money she makes the way she wants, you're welcome to offer her sound advice. But at the end of the day, just like Coach T, you showed up and this woman was who she was when you got here. So why are you telling her to be anything different? Either love me or leave me alone. In the words of the iconic Sean Carter, if you're going to be here, then be here. And if you're not, take your ass on somewhere. I just don't like that these men keep showing up to Tasha's doorstep, pursuing her. And then when they get there, they're like, all the things I saw during my long ass walk up to your doorstep, all the things I learned about you, I want you to change those things, even though I had the option to turn around at any point in this journey to pursue you. Leave her alone if she's not what you want. Why are you bothering her? You knew from the day you met Tasha that she wasn't your cup of tea. You knew she liked to spend. You knew that she liked to ball. You knew that she had money, and you knew that she was flashy. If you didn't like that in a woman, why are you pursuing this woman? Leave her alone. She is who she is, and you don't have to like it. You also don't have to pursue her. But to pursue her and then ask her to change, and then try to guilt and persuade her to change is crazy to me. Why are you bothering me? Now, I'm not saying that couples don't naturally work with each other to improve as they stay together and grow and evolve together. That's a great thing. It's kind of like if I were to meet my husband when he was playing sports. I met my husband after he retired from sports. But if I were to meet my husband while he's playing sports and I'm saying, hey, I really don't like basketball players though. Then why are you dating a basketball player? Then when I invited you out on a date and you knew I was a basketball player, why didn't you just say no? Why would you make your hangups my problem when you could have just left me alone? And I feel like that's a word for everything. You could have just left me alone, because I have a true disgust for people who go out of their way to disturb your peace based on their preferences when they could have just went and found their preferences. I think the issue is their preferences don't want their asses. So they go try to date people who are generous enough to give them some time in their life and try to change them. Go date the people you really like. If you want a humble and meek person who doesn't drive a Maserati on Wednesday and a Mercedes on Thursday and a Bentley on Friday, then don't date her. Go date the woman in the nice, reasonable Honda Civic or the nice, reasonable Acura and go on about your business. Why are you going up to this woman who built a multi-million-dollar empire and enjoys spending money on herself and tell her she's wrong for spending money on herself, money she earned? It'd be different if she was spending up all of his money and wasn't helping to recoup any of that. But she's spending her money like she was when she met your ass. So why are you coming up to her telling her to change, Dante? Oh, he got on my nerves. And the show positioned him as if he were the one in the right. Anyway, stop dating these young broke men. Tasha also dated this one guy who pretended that he was dying. He was played by Mario Van Peebles, who I love. And he pretended he was dying so that they could have these bucket list dates that were amazing and they were a whirlwind. And then he left pretending that he was going to go die in peace, but he didn't want her to see him wither away. So Tasha is really mourning this man, only to run into him, his wife, and his kids at the mall. And this man is perfectly healthy. Now, the purpose of his character was to teach Tasha to live in the moment and to stop waiting for these pivotal milestones before she really enjoyed her life, but to focus on her life right now and find real meaning in it outside of the glitz and the glam of the NFL world and outside of her job, which is a fair lesson. But he could have taught her that lesson without lying to her. Anyway, it seemed like it had a positive effect on Tasha, but that was such a funny little moment because I'm like, Tasha has the most random relationships. Speaking of random, she was also messing around with this prostitute. Now, she didn't know he was a prostitute at first, but she met him at the bar. They go back to her room. After they do the dang thing, she finds out that he's a prostitute and he charges her $500 an hour. Now, he's played by Cole Brown from Martin. They mess around on and off, and there are times where he starts to get real feelings for Tasha and he no longer charges her. But this came to a head at Melanie's fashion show when she finally tells him, I don't want to pay for sex with you anymore. And she says it accidentally next to a hot mic. Although this was embarrassing, Tasha and Melanie had been in the middle of a huge feud over contracts with Derwin and Melanie trying to be the company's CEO and blah, blah, blah. They needed a moment to hash everything out. So this embarrassing moment led Melanie to drop her guard and go check on Tasha to see if she was going to be okay. And Derwin locked them in the bathroom so that they could hash out their issues. There was a better way to go about this, Derwin, because you made Melanie miss her fashion show, and that's not cool. But Melanie did need a reality check, and so did Tasha. They were able to make amends, and their friendship was restored. It was such a beautiful moment, and I love that they were able to get back on track, especially before Melanie's character got written out of the show because Tia refused to come back, and I don't blame her. Tia and Pooch decided not to come back because they were offered being guest characters or recurring guests or whatever, but they were no longer stars of the show, and they were like, no, we're not going to come back for that, and they decided to leave the show, and I don't blame them. But it was good to see that those characters made amends before Melanie was eventually no longer on the show. Oh, and she also dated Pookie, but just to be clear, you don't date the Pookie in your life. No offense to the Pookies out there, but if you have a henchman that goes by Pookie or Pookie and Nim or Peanut and them and etc., you don't date them because usually it's a relative. I always thought it was cousin Pookie, but I think it was just a family friend. But I did not like their relationship. It just felt kind of desperate for the show to have a storyline. I didn't like their relationship. I didn't like the ebbs and flows of their relationship. I didn't like that they ended up having a baby. I didn't like anything about it. I felt like they should have brought someone in for Tasha who was new and fresh and successful and secure, and she was allowed to relax and be at ease in that relationship because she had so much going on in her career and her personal life outside of romance. So I would have loved to see Tasha be able to fully really spread her wings as a person by having a very grounded and stable romantic support system behind her. I did not like the relationship between her and Pookie. It did just feel forced. I like the actor and I like the character, but I didn't like that they made them date. And I actually felt like they should have just made him a relative that became more of like a comedic but intimidating force in the background. And she should have dated someone who could really show her what it was like to be loved fully out loud and without any drama. That's just me. So that's all I have for y'all today. I hope you enjoyed this week's video breaking down Tasha Mack's character from the game. Tasha Mack, again, is my favorite character on the show, and it was so much fun revisiting some of her really high moments, talking about some of her low moments, talking about her important pivotal relationships, but especially reading down the men who lost the opportunity to date Tasha Mack. It was absolutely their loss. Anyway, next week, we will be resuming The Problem with the Pits. Part 2. It is part 2 of 3. We will be getting into Jason's relationship with Chardonnay and Kelly's relationship with herself. And where's Brittany? We're going to get into all that next week. Feel free to let me know your thoughts on Tasha Mack, Malik, and all things the game in the comment section below. If you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and feel free to share so that more people can find us. And if you're interested in watching these videos ad-free, as well as with extended footage and content, feel free to check out my Patreon linked in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.